please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening, everyone here, and Dan out there. This is the April 28th meeting of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board. See some unfamiliar faces here. You want me to introduce the folks sitting up front here? I can do that real quick. Kim Burkhart is our facilities coordinator. And we got Jay Palermo, who for the record is an active member to this evening due to the absence of Bob Luke Course. He's been excused. Got Tim Schneider, board member. Mark Tolbert, board member. Amanda Van Laken, board member. Chuck Euler, board chairman. Kristen Smith, zoning officer. Irene Hatch, recording secretary. Good evening, Scott.
Hi.
You just missed the introductions. That's nothing big. All right, we're going to follow the agenda. I will open the floor to anyone who would like to address the board regarding something that's not on the agenda under our privilege to the floor. Is there anyone here or out there? And again, Dan's the only one online. No. So it won't look that way too often. All right. No privilege of the floor, then we'll go right into the agenda. The hearing for the subdivision, CPN 2024-078, as well as the site plan 2026-021 was advertised in the Daily Messenger on April the 21st. So that met the advertising requirements. And let's go right to CPN 2024-078. Scott Wary? Wary? Okay. He owns a property of 4461 Bristol Cross Road. And Scott's here for a single stage subdivision to subdivide a 36-acre parcel into two lots, one of 33 acres, the other 3 acres in the RR3 zoning. Scott, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you intend to do out there?
Well, my son's being married in July.
Would you please step to the podium? So that's it.
Well, our intent is to break that up into a building lot. And eventually, it was going to be gifted to my son, which hopefully someday he'll have a building lot where he chooses to build a lot, build a home, or whatever's allowed.
Dan's treating you right.
Yeah, you got it. So that's the intent.
Okay, all right, very good. So I guess I'll open it up to the board. Any questions they have on this subdivision?
I do not have any questions.
Okay. The county found this to be exempt under their rules and regulations. Jim Fletcher had no comments. Code had a couple minor comments regarding signing the addresses, but that won't occur until after the subdivision is recorded. I know as the concern of the ECB, as well as I think this board's concern, there are a lot of natural resource characteristics out there, including steep slopes, obviously a lot of woods. Most of the property is woods. And I think if and when you go, your son builds his house out there on the smaller lot, that you try to preserve as many of the trees as possible. Now, would that have to come back for a site plan? Okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, we can get into.
Just for clarification, I think the PRC came back indicating that there are no steep slopes there.
Well, it comes up the hill, just a tad to define, then it flattens out, and it goes back up onto. There's plenty of.
A small amount of steep slopes, I believe.
Yeah, it was a little more than 15, but not greater than 25.
Backside of it.
Yeah, I think there was probably smart there referring to them.
Yeah, the PRC response letter is what I was was referring to related to, let's see, NRI information shown on note number 11 on plat, there are no steep slopes present on the parcel shown by the contours on the plat. So I think they just want them shown, or it didn't measure as,
I think the note was incorrect.
okay.
Okay, and that's something I was gonna bring up that,
Got it.
you know, on your plan, Scott, it mentioned there are no. I didn't pull the plan up yet. Well, got the plan there. I think if you page down to note 11, Kim, on the left side of the plan. No NRI features within the partials. That is incorrect. There are a couple, so that note should come off. So that should be a condition. And as far as the NRI features that are on the property, do we want to enumerate those? I mean, showing the woods boundary, obviously. And you live in the house in the back, Scott?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And basically, it's wooded, but it's more locust overgrown over the year, last 30 years.
Mm-hmm. The applicant did ask for a waiver from the septic tank testing, perk and testing and design. That's something that should be part of our deliberations. I think in lieu of actually doing the testing, I think there is a note on the plan similar to what the condition in the resolution states about it's not being considered a building lot unless until and when a septic system is approved for that lot two. So the board sees that, okay? And that's something we've done in the past. I think the requirement of having to actually go out and do the perk test and design the system can be a little bit premature, and I think it's part of the code.
Right.
But
Oh,
it
that's interesting.
puts an added burden on the applicant.
But it will require a septic system.
Excuse me?
Will require a septic system.
Yep.
Is there any reason to believe that the soils would not support a septic system?
Not that I know, I don't believe so, because there's a house built across the street.
Well, that'll be at his risk if and when you ever build
Time
it.
of site plan for a new lot.
For lot two, yeah.
Right.
Okay, from the Ag Committee, they obviously realized it's not farmed and they didn't really consider a loss of farmland. Trees on the building lot, so we did say hopefully near design of the house, locating the house, spotting the house, that you would take into consideration of what mature trees remain on that lot too.
Chuck,
Mhm.
question on the waiver. If we do the waiver, how does that impact the zoning of that piece of property from what it becomes until they do that test? And I understand that the perk test impacts the marketability. They may not be concerned about that because of the type of exchange. But do we have a requirement to make sure that it's a buildable lot based on the zoning? We don't have a requirement for that.
Just that it meets the criteria under the zoning rules of what it would be new created, like the new created lot.
And then
but
usually
not
the site plan approval would be conditioned on approval
of
for the
the
septic.
So if in 5 minutes, 5 years, 50 years, somebody comes in and says, the land won't perk at all. And how come this was made a buildable lot and there's no recourse?
It's not a buildable lot, and that's why we asked for the note to be put on the plans, just stating that. Because granting the waiver and not requiring at the subdivision level of things that they do the perk test it could potentially pass the problem on,
Yeah,
you
understood.
know, to the, new property owner, so. But,
As long as it's in the.
yeah, we cover that just by having that note.
Okay, great.
Be required on the plans.
And being that the lot is going to be given to someone in the family, I mean, it's another thing, it was gonna be a marketable lot and you're gonna sell it.
But
then
as
you
a
have somebody come in from
non-arm's length
outside
transaction.
And said, hey,
Matters less.
you created a lot, I can't perk on it. It's a story, but in this case.
Worst case, would just keep it the way it is. I mean, it'll be off on its own tax. vote.
Mhm. Understood, yeah. Okay, this tree show and our features. I did talk about minimizing the setback of the house, which I think is something ECB had brought up. If and when you build a house. That utility pole line that runs back there is that strictly entirely on lot one, Scott? The utility pole line that runs back to the house?
I'm gonna see, yes, it's on the other side
Okay.
of the barbed wire fence, yes, and that RG&E owns that.
So they have an easement or it's just
I don't know.
just a service line back there?
It's a service.
Just wanted to make sure that your poles aren't gonna be on your side.
No, not.
Okay, anything else from the board? Nobody else have any comments from the public? Because the public is few and far between. All right, let's move on. Seeker. For some reason, I was thinking subdivision is a unlisted usually, or is it? I just had in my head, I was thinking subdivisions are unlisted actions.
Okay, yeah, I think.
Okay. So could we just take out the type 2 and
Yes.
the appropriate language we put in for the unlisted?
Mhm.
Okay, and I'll make a motion that we approve it's for seeker under an unlisted action that I don't know if apartment was ever filed. Have to look. Anyway, as an unlisted action and whatever forms have to be filled out to make that happen can happen. Wait a second.
I'll second that, Jeff.
Okay. Motion second, further discussion, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, someone want to take care of the subdivision?
I'll make a motion for the single stage subdivision approval on 24078. We had 3 conditions as listed, but I believe we're adding 1 additional.
Yep, we're adding, 4th to remove the note about steep slopes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, removal of note 11.
Mhm.
Stated new NRI features.
Yep.
I'll second it.
Okay, and let it be shown that we're granting the waiver regarding relief from the delineation of the on-site wastewater treatment system.
Yes.
Okay.
That's 0.3, right?
No whereas, yes.
Note shall be added subdivision the perk test is not linked to that. Doesn't refer to the waiver, but still mentions perk test of them.
Okay,
I'm fine.
all right, got a motion. I could get a second from Amanda's motion.
Yes,
Okay.
Second to last one.
Thank you.
thank you.
For the discussion, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, gentlemen, thank you for coming in. Good luck. When's the house going up?
It's not to me, but it's.
One step at a time.
Right. That's nice. Give your son 3 acres. Okay, we're ready to move on to 2026-021. Mr. Harder representing the property at 2344 New Michigan Road. This is a single stage site plan for the construction of a new single family dwelling on a parcel in the AR2 zoning district. I should note that this was a previous application for review and approval back in last August under CPN 25080. The applicant at that time was Mr. Hobson. The property's been sold, I understand, Scott, and now your client is fully enabled to build a house.
Right, yes. I think that's a pretty good summary. It is a, you know, the proposal is for a single family residential home to be built on a 8.99 acre parcel, which is a nice sized parcel on which you build one house. The pond is a nice aesthetic as well, and we've maintained the 100-foot separation that you asked us to do. We've gone through all the items that you asked us to do in the PRC and other comments that came forward from your code enforcement officer. I trust that we made our corrections and adjustments and revisions correctly. If not, please let me know if we missed anything. The only thing that is currently outstanding is we're still working on the design of the wastewater system, and that's largely because of weather. We had a very intense winter, and it seems that every time we go out to try to do our work, we have a tremendous amount of rain coming down. So that's pending, and I was hoping that that could be put as we do on Canandaigua Lake projects, condition for the C of O, that be finalized. It should be finalized in about 2 or 3 weeks, but it's not finalized as of tonight.
Is that through the Department of Health? Or is it through the town?
It's through the town. I spoke with Mike Murphy as to whether the town has anyone that wants to witness the test. Normally we have Tyler witness the test, but this is not in the watershed. So Mike said that it was okay for me to certify the results, which I will do. I don't believe that we will need DOH approval, but if it becomes an alternate system, we will need a DOH approval.
So your conditions. Okay. And it has been noted that should you get approval this evening, that it would be conditional upon the issuance of the permit prior to this C of O. Okay, anything else unique about the property? I think most of us remember the last time I was around.
I think the unique feature is the pond.
Yeah.
It's really quite a nice amenity to the property, and then also the topography falling off to the northwest enables a walkout house. So I think that's a nice feature on a house as well. The other item that we noticed since we've been out there, in addition to the rain, it was mentioned during the PRC, we get a lot of wind coming across there. It's just one of those north-south streets that gets a tremendous amount of wind, like 444 does as well. I did post the notice sign. I took a picture of it, but it's not there anymore.
Up in Farmington.
I think it's in Syracuse. But a nice piece of property.
Yeah, I think the ECB had sort of recommended possibly a windbreak of some sort. It's not a requirement,
Right.
you know, but it's certainly a good thing to think about. I also remember with the previous application that Jim Fletcher had been discussing with the applicant at that time about the possibility of some sort of vegetative windbreak out by the road
Oh,
because of the as a sort of a snow fence, vegetated snow fence. I don't remember Jim bringing that up in this application. I think
No.
most of his comments had to do with the water.
I didn't see that. But some sort of windbreak would be good.
Well, regarding the snow retardant, would you check with Jim on that? Just, or
Sure.
would somebody check with him, just to make sure it didn't slip his mind this time, that if something that can be been out there and helped out as far as New Michigan Road, I know, as you said. Wind, septic were talked about, code. Yeah, the ECB mentioned the natural snow fence also, so. All the more reason to follow up on it. The Ag Committee did say there is a potential loss of farmland. But I guess it hasn't been that active as
No,
far as
it has not.
farmland. So I think that was the caveat in their concern.
So they had requested that they continue to offer to lease the land to farm people.
Yeah,
Is that,
I'm sorry.
Ag had requested that the owners do a lease back option to farmers if they were interested. Is there a willingness to do that?
I'm not sure. I did ask the owners if they intended to farm it, and they said no, but we never addressed that question.
Would they, what's the term I'm looking for, Chuck, where we basically do something similar to a conservation?
Agricultural easement.
Yeah, an agriculturally, would they consider an agricultural easement to prevent future subdivision?
I'd have to check with them. I'm sorry, they're not here tonight. So I don't know the answer to that question. I wouldn't want to commit to answering that question one way or the other.
How about we put it as a condition
Okay.
that you that the applicant consider a agriculture easement on whatever part of the property is farmable to be farmed.
Motivation on that, Scott, so that you understand the question is, when ag identifies that it's a loss, then we, as part of comp plan, we try to protect and preserve ag. It may offer them benefits as well from how that land is then classified as well, from taxation and or other benefits of being labeled as an agricultural.
Okay. I'll certainly follow through.
And Chuck, I have a question about the proposed future barn. Is that considered to be on the front yard of the house, or or does that need a variance for the placement of that barn? It doesn't.
No.
Okay,
Not in that zoning district.
okay.
That's one of the questions I had too, when we showed it there. I wasn't sure if that was gonna trigger the need for a variance, but
Not in the air one,
Right.
air two, or three.
right.
You're welcome.
And the barn will be built as part of the house?
No, we indicated future. We had that discussion with you folks in PRC.
Yeah,
It's something they wanted to identify and I guess, note at this particular point in time, should they pursue it, in the next year or so, or to put it on the plans.
And Scott, does the neighboring to the north, is that where that little red barn is before that? The wood line that goes up and over the hill?
I believe the wood line's a little further to the north of us. There's another chunk of
Another chunk of that.
Another
land
chunk of open field.
between, okay.
Yep.
Drive that road every day.
Many of us do.
They put that red barn up a few years ago. I didn't know if it was part of it looks like it's just north of there with the amount of frontage you have there. So
Mhm. So I think it's, you can see your red barn right there.
this is the barn. Okay, so one whole field away.
Yep, actually 2 parcels. There's another large parcel and then a smaller parcel to the north.
downspouts are just, they're on the splash.
Splash blocks, yeah. There's a lot of land to receive that drainage.
Yeah, we always have to ask it though,
Sure.
where water's gone. Your driveway, I think you had the note about the paving from the edge of road to the right of way line. It's in there, you have a site distance,
We have the site distances,
width of the driveway, I think you put on the plans, it's PRC. 12 feet, right? I think.
yes,
No need for turn around?
No, we're not.
Yep,
we're
you're not far enough
long-
back, okay. Okay, I'm good. How about the rest of the board?
Fine, well,
Okay.
Is your existing pond elevation indicative of groundwater level, or is that just a holding pond is that a farm pond?
I haven't, we haven't done the deep hole test for the wastewater system yet. I could answer that question better if we did. But
Yeah, so it looks like it's probably about 826.
the pond,
Septic area is lower than that.
yeah, the pond is at a higher elevation, so, there's typically a margin of high water that comes from that, but that's kind of interesting in it that it's at the highest point as it is. But once we do the deep hole test, we'll know better.
Scott, just looking through ECB's notes again real quick, do you know if they're considering any types of alternative energy on there, whether it's geothermal, wind or solar?
I don't know, but I've recommended to them that they do geothermal. It's an ideal piece of property for it in so many ways.
Anything else?
We need to figure out how to get ECB to offer some incentives for that stuff. I know the state does.
Town incentive,
Something, I mean, we asked the
the town
question.
board,
Right.
town board, you give,
Seriously, we asked.
give relief on the application fee.
Something, right? I mean, we ask the question all the time and it always costs more, so.
Yeah.
Depending on how you look at it.
It would be good for solar and geothermal,
Great.
because there's no trees to
Wind,
block
right?
the sun.
Nope, you probably wouldn't want to see that wind either.
Stick a wind turbine out there.
And I've done some geothermals where they put the manifold in the pond.
Yeah, I've done those too.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
geo
so-
myself.
See them in the lake.
Seem ideal to me.
Yeah,
Take advantage of it.
It was deep enough.
Okay, let's
Chuck,
move.
just one question if I.
Sure, Jen.
So for site plan approval, shouldn't all ground disturbances be noted in site plan approval, even for a potential geothermal field? For like that to be all part of the application? Or would that, if they did geothermal, would they have to come back for a secondary site plan approval to have that noted in our approval? Because you have your disturbance line, and obviously our geothermal is gonna be traveling pretty far. So
Depends on how
I'm just wondering,
yeah, depending on what kind of, if they are to do geothermal, it depends on, how they do it. Say they go with a pond and they just sink it in the pond, that's not a lot of disturbance. My experience has been that a field for a ground field for geothermal is usually about the size of a septic field, plus or minus.
What's the square footage on the house?
That's usually about 2,500 square feet.
Do you know, I know we've got the architectural, but do you know what happens to be on this?
I'm sorry.
Do you know what they're planning for? Roughly, square footage of the house?
Oh, I think I put the architectural elevations in. I mean, I think it's probably 2,500 square foot house or so.
So about 50,000 BTUs, so that's a 3 to 5 ton unit, it's gonna be 3 to 5 trenches that are 150 feet long, 6 feet in front.
There you go. But to answer your question about disturbance, I guess my knowledge, there isn't a requirement at site plan yet in the town of Canandaigua for us to identify potential geothermal areas.
We had one application where it was a geothermal, it was actual geothermal application for a site plan. And it might have been the size, I can't remember where it was. But I think if you have your limited disturbance is shown on the site plan, right, Scott?
Yes,
So as long as it's inclusive enough that, other than that, I guess if you put it in the pond, then you're not disturbing anything other than running the
the lines to the pond.
estimate service. Do you think within the limits of disturbance shown here that if it's not put in the pond, it would fit on the property?
Well, technically, you could put it between the house and the leach field. I guess there's enough room there and it falls within our disturbance limits.
Yeah, imagine you wouldn't want it too far, otherwise your service line. Right. Cable has come from there. Well, something to think about. I mean, if you come back later and it's outside the limits of disturbance. I don't know, Mike.
It could be a change work order if the change was deemed to be insignificant. And that would be determined by town staff, code enforcement, Jim Fletcher and myself. If it is deemed to be a significant change, then it would be amended. So,
Yeah, we've done that before.
Yep. So I'm sure you have.
Yep.
Well, it's good to hear you're considering it, what the applicant is. Good. Anything else, board? Okay, we've got, this is a type 2 seeker. We can combo it with the site plan approval if someone wants to take care of that.
I'll make that motion to bundle the secret type 2 action in the single stage site plan approval for CPN 2026021 with 7 conditions.
I add 2, I think.
We added an 8, for the applicant to consider an ag easement, farmable land.
8 conditions. Okay, we got 8.
I'll
Eight it
second
is.
that.
All right, got a motion, a second. For discussion, if not all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
All right. Last formal item on the agenda is CPN 2026-038. A revision or redo of our chapter 170 stormwater management law. I assume everyone has looked at it, read it, understands it. But in case you didn't understand it, we've got Dan with us this evening to there's a memo from Mike that's part of the package, and I think that's sort of the overview. If you want to, Dan, do you want to give us your interpretation of what's happening here?
Yeah, so tonight you have in front of you the repeal of chapter 170 stormwater, which we have started from scratch and rewrote this entire document. It's broken down into 2 distinct components, one being construction and then the other one being post-construction. So some of the key points that we tried to achieve is a clearer, more organized and an improved document that's just more user-friendly, lays out the requirements in a better position, I think. Update the applicable thresholds and reduce regulation and gaps. This came out of some of our MS4 requirements. So we needed to tighten up a couple little things. The stormwater pollution standards, we made sure those were all in there. Talk about runoff. We also revisited the inspections, compliance, and accountability to give our stormwater inspector more authority when he's out there. Another big topic was the long-term maintenance and protection of stormwater facilities and making sure that we were getting maintenance agreements, and if they were town-owned, that we were documenting and getting easements that were being needed for inspections. So those are the big takeaways from this chapter. What I would like to do though, because I know there's a lot there and I want to make sure your board has enough time to review this document in the fullness of it. It is going in front of the town board at their next meeting to open up the public hearing, but they will not be closing that public hearing because of the type 1 action this is. So they will be doing a 30-day coordinated review. So that does allow us a little bit more time to look at this chapter and get more comments from this board, which I think is important. So I was going to see, unless if there's questions tonight, if the board could take it as homework and send me any questions they might have. And depending on what we do with your next board meeting, if we're having it or not, I could answer them there. Or if we don't have that meeting, then I would be more than happy to put together a memo answering all the questions I received from this board.
Okay. When would the town board need our comments? After the 30 days and
Correct. It would be their meeting in June. Their June meeting, yes.
it's. So
But
we would have,
obviously, if there's comments, I would like to address them way before that.
sure,
But yes, you do have both of your meetings in May that we could discuss this at. So even if you don't have the next one, we could just continue it to your second meeting of May. But
Okay.
again, if there's comments, I would really like the board to send those to me in email format, just so that I can sit down with staff and make sure that we get a clear path to your answers. And then we can report back and have discussion at that next meeting.
Okay, but the board, if they have, I mean, I looked at it, I know Bob, of course, had sent me his comments, and I'll send those on to you, Dan.
Absolutely.
And if anybody else here wants to ask Dan some questions, I think this is a hot topic right now, given some of the applications we have in front of us.
Dan, this is Tim Schneider. I've just got just a really basic question because I don't understand the legal structure. Why is there 2 articles?
So one is your current construction, and then the other one would be your post-construction.
Do they relate to each other?
They have different regulations within our MS4 program, so that's why it's showing under 2 different articles.
Okay, so, but do the requirements of, say, Article 2 relate to Article 1?
Each article should be handled separately.
Okay, I did see what appeared to me to be a lot of pre-design or pre-construction instructions in Article 2 regarding the stormwater management and stormwater facilities. But I'll put together written comments. It's just I didn't know whether they crossed over to each other or not.
No, they don't. So that's why you see definitions in both articles. So they're really, it's under the same chapter, but each article should be addressed on its own merits.
Okay.
Then Dan,
Yep.
nice to see you, buddy. For Article 1, that's gonna be more of the pre-construction site plan approval stuff, that's gonna be more in the preview of us. Article 2 with the post-construction, that's gonna be more enforcement for code and whatnot, correct?
Yes and no. I mean, Article 2 does talk about ponds and how they need to be constructed. So I think it's important for this board to still have some say in that. But then it goes into much more of how we're going to maintain them and different landscaping that could be used around it and just the general performance of it. So yes and no to that question.
All right, thank you.
Dan, how much do the actual design parameters get involved? There's none of that really mentioned here, but again, given what we've been discussing for the last couple of months with a particular application, is this where storm intensities, time of concentration, coefficient of runoffs. If we want to change those or tighten them up or increase them, is now the opportunity to do that, or is that not the case?
So Chuck, I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's an important aspect is when you guys are reviewing this chapter. What we've done is we've moved all that over to the site design and development criteria, which allows this board and the town board a faster path if needed to change our regulations without going through the whole code process. So some of this is very generic in the code where we can be very detailed in our site design. And even though that still has to be approved by the town board, it gives the town a little bit more freedom if changes are needed compared to actually having it in the town code.
Okay, so that will all appear there. So.
Correct. And that, just so this board's aware, is a document that staff is working on. It's going in conjunction with some of these codes that we're writing. So when you're not seeing as much detail in the code, the reason is it's got pushed over to the site design.
Dan, sorry, this mark here, does that include some of the things that were taken out, like the phosphorus treatment requirements, the discharge requirements? All of that's the site design criteria now?
Yes, that's correct. And so when we get to site design in front of this board, those are things that I want you to double check for me that we didn't leave them out completely. So that will be another homework assignment on a different night.
How are we in, does that fall, so we've been having a lot of conversations lately on how current environmental conditions have changed the speed at which events are handled. Does that get picked up by site design criteria too?
Yes. We've been working with Kevin over at the watershed on that, and we're trying to create a plan and a new standard of what we expect and the levels that we expect to see come through on the projects, but also on how we handle them during the event.
Small side note, you guys lowered fines and penalties?
So that went through legal counsel, and I believe if I remember correctly, those are per day charges. So those add up very quickly. So that is a technique to they're lower, but they're daily. So
Still effective. That's, I was just curious.
yeah. And I think that was the reason, and I know Nadler is not there tonight to comment about that, but that was a discussion we did have with him. And actually being able to go after these, because sometimes when we get in front of a judge, if the fines are too high, then
Yeah, they're not defendable, sure.
Right.
How about enforcement, all of this? I mean, all of this switches over to the SMO now, as opposed to anyone else.
Yes.
Do we have the ability to enforce it? Do we have the resources?
So, SMO is Jim Fletcher, but underneath him, he is our stormwater inspector. So the reason that has to be is because we're the MS4 community. So we're trying to treat the whole town as an MS4, and that's one of their requirements. It's enforced by the SMO. So truly, it's not going to fall on Jim. We have staff in place underneath him, but he signs the documents at the end of the day.
Okay.
This is Tim Schneider. Once again, I'm just curious if you guys have an idea of how many additional applications you might anticipate by lowering the minimum threshold from 1 acre to about 0.57 acres, or the 25,000 square feet?
Yep, great question, Tim. So I don't know a number off the top of my head, but I will tell you that we are already out there looking at these sites. The problem comes when we go to enforcement. Right now, we can only give suggestions and try to get it fixed. But we're already looking at them, so I don't think the workload increases. It just gives us the enforcement power.
Dan, is the 25,000 square feet the right number? Where did that come from?
I don't have that answer. That's something that Mike Murphy and his team, thought that number sounded right. He did the research on that, so I don't know, but I can get you an answer on that.
It was a question Bob had, and I had the same question. Well, we'll put it in our comments and just ask for, as part of your response.
I think enforcement actually becomes, I do understand the
think
desire
it's
to have
people?
more recourse.
Mhm.
But just in general, it seems like we're doing. I just worry about what we can do, because I spent a lot of time here trying to give the enforcement the tools that they need to do the things that we intended. And it feels like with the changes we're making, whether it's the recent changes related to landscaping and everything else, we're adding a ton of what should be enforcement stuff that I don't know how we keep up with it. That's all.
Yeah, and those are good questions. It's something that staff is talking with the town board about as well. But it's a goal because, as you know, you guys talk about it at your meetings. I think it's a concern of this board. We want to support that. But now we need to give a little bit more backing to our guys so they can do that. But could it be a staffing issue? It could be. That's a very true possibility. But if it's not in the code, we won't be able to enforce it, and that sometimes is even a worse situation.
Makes sense.
Dan, I've been doing this for about 16 years, and I know some of these regulations and requirements regarding SWIFT, speedies, site design, chapter 165, MS4. I'm just thinking if there could be some sort of flow chart or something that if an application comes in, if it meets a certain criteria, then it requires a SWIP, or it doesn't require SWIP, then it goes to strictly site design. Is that something that's either generically out there that the state might have, or it's something that could be specific to the town?
Chuck, I wish it was something the state had and we could just put it in our regulations, but I think that it's something that we can develop. I think that's a good idea. I've been looking at flow charts for some of the other stuff that we've been working on. And we already do have a couple flow charts in the site design. So I think that that's a very valid point and something that I'm willing to take a closer look at.
Good, thank you.
Can I ask a favor?
You sure can.
When we get these, because they're so big, can I get the red line version?
So there was no red line on this. We started from scratch.
Okay.
So there was a red line version from our attorney, but that wasn't a true red line. It was more of a discussion as we went through what we originally wrote. But yes, if there's a red line available, we will give that. That's why Mike did up a memo on this one, just because we did start from scratch. So no red line was available.
Cool, thanks.
Hey, Dan, is there an easy explanation for the 303D impaired waters and the TMDL watershed areas that's referred to in here? Is the 303D Canandaigua Lake?
So I can't answer that off the top of my head. I would have to look up that information. I just don't want to give you, I have an idea, but I don't want to say something in a public meeting that's not right. So.
Sure. Okay.
But if you would submit that to me, I will research it and report back when we talk about this at your next meeting.
Absolutely. and this was a lot of work. I just want to commend you.
Yeah.
Having spent most of my career in a regulatory agency, having enforcement available to you and the code that backs you is really, really important. So I appreciate that.
I thank you for that. I will pass that along to Mike Murphy. He's been the lead person working on this, so he's put a lot of time into it with support of staff, but he was the main driver behind a lot of it before we started reviewing it. So I will relay that to him. I know he's put a lot of sweat and tears into this one, so.
Okay, board, do you have any more comments tonight? I would propose that since we do not have anything on the agenda for May 12th, that we review this draft and submit your comments to Dan. So instead of coming to a meeting on May 12th, we sit and write your comments to this draft. And that way, by the 28th, Dan will have them all, and he can do a synopsis or write up an overview of what was received and comments back to any of the questions we may have. So does that make sense?
I mean, Dan, when would the outline for the changes to the site design be available? So we could maybe look at these both at the same time?
Yeah, I was thinking that we get in the cart before the horse here. Yeah.
So,
Should be looking at them
Should we be looking at them together?
Yeah.
I would like to say that within the next month, we'll have the site design. The problem is we're working on multiple chapters of the site design. So, and that's been a reorganize of the whole document. But with that said, we might be able to get this, at least the stormwater section done in the next month so I can get it out to you. I cannot promise you that, but I will attempt to see how far we can get with it.
Great. Thank you.
Dan, do you have any obligation to the ordinance committee to run it by them before you distribute it to anyone?
We do. I will be talking about that next week with ordinance, and I can bring it up to make sure that they're okay that I just share the stormwater section with you guys.
Okay.
As long as they have no issues with that, then and I will say that it's going with 170 here, and you guys had would like to see both documents together. So, but I will bring that up next week when I meet with them on Monday. And if anything changes and they say that they don't want to do that, I will let this board know.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think we have a plan how to attack this thing. Thanks, Dan, for your participation and comments. Let's go to the minutes from our April 14th meeting. Someone want to give me a motion to approve them?
Do a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
Second, Green, great job on the discussion on Ashton Place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work.
You were able to stay up with Tim. And Tim, thanks for the comments you provided that evening. It was very helpful. Mark, you missed it.
Oh.
Must see TV. Yes. All right, I have a motion, a second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're not giving any money out tonight. Laptops, Kim had asked for anyone who has a town laptop to provide the serial number or the number on the back. Have you gotten responses from everyone? Okay. Thank you. And no referrals from town board. Nothing for we have to do with ZBA. Jay, Kristen, you were at Cooperstown, right?
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Anything, did you learn anything?
Learned a bunch. I think the most well spent time is the 2 hours and 39 minutes each way with the conversation the three of us had. And the breakout classes were really informative. It was a great, well-run program, except for lunch, that was an hour late, but it's okay. that was a clerical issue. But the classes we were able to choose during the breaks, we were talking about the classes we were in. We didn't all go to the same class rotationally, but it was a lot of fun. MRB group was awesome, and we thank them for taking us out to this dinner. But all the different vendors there and stuff, they were very well spoken and they knew about their products. And for a new guy on the board, I thought it was a really cool opportunity to get some well needed information that I can use to come back here. So it was a fantastic trip, and thank you both of you guys for the information that you were able to help me grow with. So
You're welcome.
it was great.
I agree.
Did-
It was great.
Ditto?
Ditto, a lot of great sessions. There's one great one by MRB. Matt Horn spoke about comp plans. Diana Smith from MRB did a great session that I went to about conflict resolution. And how to handle that in, my perspective in interactions with residents. But at the board level too, setting the tone and giving respect and asking for respect in return. It was really a great session. So yeah, it was a good one. I enjoyed it.
Beautiful venue too.
No, yes.
Not a bad Lakeview.
No, not at all.
Okay, good. Glad you went. Speaking of training, there are some more lunch training and evening training and MRB. I just sat on one solar.
I did the same.
That was good the other night. And Dan, it's still open regarding May 28th, right? The Genesee Finger Lakes.
Yes, I believe I can still register people if anybody still wants to go.
Okay, it's coming down to push comes to shove. I'll make a commitment this week.
I'm going.
I'm gonna go as well.
All right, good. All right, anything else for the good of the group? So as I said, we have nothing on the agenda for the 12th of May, so let's cancel that meeting. And whoever the powers to be that have to be notified,
Yeah. Take care of that.
sure that happens. And then we come back the 28th, 26th. 26th. And we have Ashton Place South on the agenda, but there has been some discussion regarding a major overhaul of the storm drainage.
Makes sense.
Dan, maybe you want to give us an overview of what occurred last week.
I would be happy to. We were able to meet with the applicant. Actually, let me back up. Staff met with the Watershed Council and with MRB Group, and we got Tim's comments, and we appreciate those comments so that we could take a hard look at those. Staff involved the planning and codes and Jim Fletcher from Highway. And so there was a bunch of us, we sat around, discussed everything, and we think we came up with a good solution. The very next day, we brought the applicant in and met with them for a good meeting. Talked about a bunch of options, and we laid out what the town from all three organizations, and when I say all three, it's town staff, MRB Group, and Kevin from the Watershed, thinks would be the best solutions for this property to handle the stormwater drainage and address some of Tim's comments, and also provide some benefits past the borders of this project to some of the neighbors that also have some concerns. It would be definitely a joint effort between the applicant and the town. Is if they did get approval to move through the different phases, the town would have some responsibilities as well. And I'm not going to go into the details yet because it's still some back and forth as we're drafting those up and giving them to the applicant. They were going to go back and crunch some numbers and see what they could make happen and get back to us. But with that being said, it was a very big overhaul of what we originally were looking at. So I would not be surprised if they asked to be continued at that May meeting, just to give them a little bit more time to get all this laid out correctly. So, but what the big takeaways were was that they were open to it. And I think that we can possibly help some of the neighbor concerns for some of the additional water that's coming from the north. From the south, sorry.
The west.
What?
Yeah.
What are those directions?
All of
Down the
it.
hill.
All of it.
Down the hill.
Northwest, yeah. We're gonna get it all. All
It
right.
was some direction, but yes. So I think it was a good takeaway meeting.
I agree. Okay, so 28th May, we maybe 26th.
26th,
Which means
28th is the
20
workshop.
Today's the 28th.
Today's, yes.
26th, we may have a further continuation of that. But we can talk about chapter 170 then.
Yep.
I'm trying to talk about that. All right, I think we are done. If Don, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Just continue soaking up knowledge from you guys.
And if not,
Motion to adjourn at 7:01.
almost made it under now.
Almost.
Okay, got a
Second.
motion, quick, second.
Aye.
What the heck is happening?
Motion is second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
What the heck is happening that we're